Hello and welcome to the SELFMADE book channel. I'm Bianca.
And I'm Byron.
Today, Byron,
let's talk about International Women's Day, what it means. Let's talk about some of the cheeky, big multi-million-dollar corporations asking for pro bono. Women making sure they understand their value. And why you would do a talk for free. And what it's been like for you on the scene for 10 years? 10 years? 11 years? So, let's first of all talk about International Women's Day, which turns out to be International Women's Week.
Or month sometimes, yeah.
So first of all, talk to the people. Tell them first of all what it is, for those who may not be familiar. And then I'll go to my next question.
I mean, I'm concerned that I might not be able to justify, I might not be able to provide an accurate definition as such. But in my mind, and maybe it's worth, I would Google it, but I'm using my phone to record this. It is a day of celebration, celebrating, you know, how far kind of women have come and the contribution of women and it's the recognition. And it's a really good time to discuss some kind of gender-based issues like gender parity, which means like gender equality, the issue with imbalance in terms of salary and pay and equity and you know, diversity, inclusion. So it's a time to have a broader conversation about the impact of women, but also how you can be a better ally for women. So as a man or someone of another gender, how can you support women better in their aspirations and understand some of the issues that we face on a day-to-day basis? And
give us some of the kind of corporations you've worked with over the years.
Ooh, that's a difficult one. Loads. Like HSBC, Barclays. Every year I do an event for CMS, which is a massive law firm in the city.
Global.
Facebook once, I think I did something. I think that was International Women's Day. I can't remember. That was a different time of year. But like lots of big prestigious. Oh, Tesco. I think I did something Tesco. Lots of prestigious organisations.
And it turns out being not a day. It ends up being a week or month.
Yeah.
And I think because obviously everyone's trying to do something
on the 8th of March.
And they're not always able to get the speaker or whatever it may be. So as you know, as I get the inquiries coming in, I'm like, I see it now being spread over the whole month basically. Yeah. Which is quite cool, and I guess it allows you to be booked out more. And how many have we got for you on the 8th? Have we got 2 or 3?
I've got 2 on the 8th, 1 on the 9th, and 1 on the 7th.
Okay, cool. So I guess the next question now is...
And then 2 on the 23rd, 1 on the 22nd, 1 on the 23rd.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And I guess the next question now is for those organisations, some organisations, that's not, you know, by and large, the majority come with an adequate and sufficient budget. But what's disappointing for me as a booker, and I see some large corporations come and knocking on the door, and they want someone with not only 10 years experience, knowledge, wisdom, but you are great at delivering, and then they say, you know, oh, they're not being supported. Forget the budget. It's not the budget thing. They're saying they haven't been supported by the various departments, the organisation
with the budget.
And I'm just like, I know you want to put together this event because obviously you're trying to do what you do, but I think as well sometimes they do this because there is such a minority of women in that organisation. They're just not allocating enough budget for them. And I can't make excuses for these organisations and why they are not providing sufficient budget. But it's like, I just find it mind-boggling sometimes. It's not like they got 5 employees. It's not like they're a little SME and, you know, we got to take a view on it to of help support them, right? These are global, multinational, organisations.
I think also I feel not sorry, but I feel it's unfortunate for anyone who does it is like the women's network lead or the women's lead, right? Typically it's a side of desk job, which means that they have a full-time job, and then they do this as almost like their additional thing to do. Either they're doing it for their CV or because they really believe in the cause, but they're doing it at the side of their desk, so they already have a full workload. Then they're asked to or called upon to do this additional thing. Some organisations, and I can't remember, so I can't quote who, actually pay you an extra, like a bonus for doing it, because it is another job.
It's a job.
But some, it's like they volunteer, and of course in volunteering, of course that's going to help you with your promotion and stuff, but they volunteer to do it, and it's a big job. So then imagine you're volunteering to do something, you don't really understand the industry of events and so on, you don't know that everyone, good quality speakers need to get paid, and then if the organisation doesn't allocate you any resources, you don't know, it's only when you start speaking to certain speakers you're like, oh, I can't, my big, beautiful idea isn't going to work without. And then also, I think they don't realise it's actually an insult, because, and I've had to say this to a few people, and I don't, want to be that martyr, I'm not trying to be that person, but I've had to say to them, you realise you're calling me to talk about gender pay disparity. And then you don't want to pay. But you don't want to pay me. You realise that, right? That doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't math.
Oh, yeah. Like, you can't say, oh, Bianca, we really want to talk about, the importance of pay and why women are not being paid fairly, but you want me to do it for free.
Doesn't make no sense.
Yeah.
So let's talk about then value. And, there's going to be a number of women that will be asked by these various corporations to deliver their skill, knowledge, experience to these organizations. And I can understand how when they get that call from a big international brand, it's like, oh, so-and-so has knocked on the door for me to do a talk. Perhaps I'm not even thinking about charging.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, it's like, okay, well, what should they do? What should they do, or what should they charge? Well, no, what they charge is a whole different conversation. Requires a little bit of understanding on topics they're speaking about. But I think it's all about, what should they do? Like, how should they make a judgment based on whether they should take that gig and do it for free? Because sometimes doing free has its place. Yeah.
I think you have to think about value, added value. So if, for example, just for argument's sake, your fee that you would usually charge is £1,000, right? They may not have the budget to give you £1,000, but they might have some budget. So the first question is, how much budget do you have, right? But then beyond that, what could you give me in place of that budget that might derive additional value? So it might be the person, it might be the audience. So are the people in the room likely to be able to procure your products or services as a result of you speaking to that audience? Is it going to put you in front of an audience you wouldn't have been able to get to before?
Yeah.
And I am a big believer, and I hate when people say it gives you exposure, because exposure doesn't pay any bills. But at the same time, there are times when actually, when you're early in the journey, maybe it gives you that you're in front of that audience. The other option is it gives you the brand affiliation. So maybe they're not paying you, but they're gonna record it. And as a result of them recording it, maybe it's got their brand in the background. You now have that content to utilize
show reel
as your show reel. So you can now use that next year, or you can use that for other clients to say, hey, here is an example of me speaking at X client who's big and prestigious and everyone respects. So now they're like, okay, so you are good enough to speak for them, then you must be good enough to speak for us. So now you can use that as a marketing tool. So or they can make introductions. There are ways where it works. But then, for example, one of our mentees, obviously we've taught them their structure for speaking and so on. We've created the talks, whatever, and they were approached by quite a major bank. And this major bank were like, look, this is a small event. They have their big event, they have their small event. Their smaller events are unpaid. Their big event is paid. And in the past, the person who spoke at the small event for free ended up doing the big event for 10K.
Sure.
Now, okay, great. That's an amazing opportunity. Is that a promise? No, it's not. Is it an opportunity? Yeah, potentially. Is there the possibility that you'll get nothing out of it? Potentially. Yeah. But you have to look at opportunity cost. So I think there's a bigger, broader conversation, but I do believe quite strongly that as a professional speaker, you should not be speaking for free. And that as an industry, if people got better at saying no, organisations would get better at finding budget.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Jeez. All right, cool. So
that frustrates me.
I want to just get, before we wrap this up, top 3 tips from you for people who want to become professional speakers, or how they should go about working out how much they charge, or gaining confidence. Get anybody that's in the speaking world, give me some tips for them.
I mean, there's so many. Yes, when we're mentoring, I give people all the good,
juicy ones.
But I guess the first thing is, don't. If for example you're looking at a pivotal point in the year, you know, you fall into one of the diversity metrics. So you're, you know, LGBTQ+IA, or you're female, or you're black. Make sure that you are preparing yourself in advance for those pivotal points in the year. I think some people wait until March to start pitching themselves. You need to know that 2 months before.
Get the dates in the diary.
Yeah, you have the dates in the diary.
Get those important dates in the diary.
2-3 months before people are looking for speakers. So from a confidence and getting client perspective, be prepared. You know, go out there be ready with your speaking topics, know what your fee is.
That's the next point.
Understand your value.
Understand your speaking topics is vital. And what value do they gain from those topics? And who it's relevant to. Having clarity on that, I find, is so important. Cool, I like it. All right, cool.
If anyone wants to learn how to become a speaker, you can become my mentee and I will show you. Plug.
There's details. You know, you guys know how to contact us, but details in the description. And hopefully you guys are enjoying these. We call these
in-car chats.
In-car chats. Yes. Anyway, until next time, my people. I'm Byron.
And I'm Bianca.
And SELFMADE
is the home of entrepreneurship.
Until next time.
Bye.